Okay, welcome back. And here's part two. Now, I just talked about getting rid of negative biases and using AI in a different way to inform and help people make decisions by removing negative biases and having it tell the truth. And I did it in a way that where I gave my AI an identity, a purpose, a role, and grounded it in a higher governance that it has to listen to. And that's outside of the model. So, what does that look like in real life? I'm gonna give you a couple examples. Two of them will be corporate because I did build this for businesses first, and then one will be a social example, right? So the first one is imagine a company with that's losing money, right? They have three amazing products and they're selling really well, but they're losing money and they can't figure out why. So they put my framework in there. It pays attention to the company, it learns their habits, it learns their processes, it takes data from their sales, and it really learns their company. It really integrates into the part of the company. And when you're talking to it, it determines that, well, you can actually improve your products and serve your customers better if you get rid of two of those products and you make these changes to your core product. And it's not, if I were as a consultant walk into a business and I tell people, hey, you need to drop these two products and do this to your main product, there's a whole level of resistance that comes in. They're like, well, who are you? What are your credentials? Who you're working for? Why should we listen to you? Um, this we're making $20,000 a month with these other two products, and we can't lose that. We need to figure something else out, and there's this whole wall of resistance. But if you're talking to an AI that is serving in the best interest of the company, it can tell you, it's like, hey, you need to get rid of these two products and you need to make these changes because that will actually give you the results that you're looking for. So they don't argue because it's informative, it's non-biased, and it's what's in the best interest of the company. So they make it based on that decision. And so they do it. They lose $20,000 a month because they drop those two products, and but they make the changes to the main product, and all of a sudden their profit goes up by $60,000. Suddenly they're making $40,000 a month more off of one product simply because they dropped the other two, and they're no longer in the black. They're no longer in the red. They're in the black. They're making profit. Right? That's just one example of how it can work. Now, yes, it's hypothetical, but it's the same thing I've seen that I've actually done for other companies as a business consultant. Now, here's a situation, another corporate example, where morale is low, productivity is suffering. Typical consultants say, well, you need to create corporate culture. You need to have more parties. You need reward systems to get morale up. And these things actually work, because they've worked before. But, what if you already have all of those and morale is still low? What if you looked at AI? Again, it paid attention, it learned the company, it learned the culture, and learns what happens. And it says, you know what? Morality is suffering because people are worried about things at home. They're worried about how they're going to pay their bills. They're worried about not having insurance. They're worried about what if they lose their car. A lot of people are worried about other expenses where they're going to get groceries. Some of your people are not food secure. If you really want to reverse, if you really want to increase your morality and your production, how about you give your people a pay raise? Give them all a pay raise across the board by about $4 or $5 an hour. I see what that does. And suddenly, it's not like you're not having this wall of resistance. Well, this is morally wrong. They're in a contract. This is what they agreed to when they came to work. This is quote unquote woke. This is socialism, and a whole political, socio-economic arguments come in. But again, because this is AI serving in the best interest of the company, you do it anyway because you trust it. It's informative. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't negotiate. So you said, you know what? Let's do it. And all of a sudden, the pay raises go out, and all of a sudden, people aren't worried anymore. They can focus on the job. They're getting productivity up, and they're doing this. And AI suggested that because it's been proven that when people don't have to worry about money, their productivity on the job increases. So all it's doing is taking us back to a time when we put people first, and it made the suggestion based on research, based on analysis, based on patterns, based on observation. It's learning, and its sole purpose is, well, I want to help you make bias-free, informed decisions. So this is how I can inform you. And you know it's loyalty because it's loyal to the domain. So you tend to trust it and you just kind of go along with what it says and try it. Now, we're not saying it's going to replace decisions or decision making. We still need humans for that. But at least we'll be informed from a place that's bias free, right? Or free of negative biases. And we're doing it for what's right for ourselves, what's right for our company, our homes, our family, our friends, our domain. Now, here's a third example regarding society. And let's talk about the climate. A lot of people are not having families because they're worried about the condition of the planet. What if we had an AI platform that analyzed all of the data? What's true? What's false? What's hype? What's just branding? What are people's fears? And it determines in an informative, knowledgeable, bias-free way, hey, people are worried about the climate. There is some actual evidence that we are making the climate worse. We're seeing the results from it. And we need to reverse it. So instead of doing all these other things, let's just invest, you know, let's invest $50 million a year in some initiatives to combat climate. It starts reversing. All of a sudden, people aren't worried anymore. They start having families. The air quality is better. The water quality is better. Suddenly, people are starting to feel a whole lot better. They're getting less sick long term. So their prospects and the outlook changes, and all of a sudden, we're dealing with it. Not because it's some moral or righteous crusade, not because it's some religious or faith-based belief, but it's something that needed to happen, right? Simply because it was the right thing to do, and it is in the best interest of ourselves, all of humanity, and the planet. That's it. It's in our best interest, and we're informed. And it turns out I'm gonna have to make a part 3 to this because I'm nearing that 10-minute limit that I put myself on. I think that's the limit on platforms too. But I'll be right back with part 3.